has 12 hours been like for you? 12 to 24 hours?
Yeah, it's been crazy. It's been surreal for sure. I think just growing up, as an athlete, this is what your dream is. So being able to experience this with my family, my loved ones back home was quite a special experience. And then carrying it over to coming here and bringing them with me is an amazing experience for sure. So couldn't be more happy.
Jaxson, what's it like to walk around this building? You see the trophies and the murals of the players and everything, and
Yeah.
to know that that's expected of you now.
Yeah, no doubt. This place is iconic. Everybody in the National Football League knows it. If you're a fan, you know it. So I'm blessed to be here. I'm humbled by it. It's extraordinary to see it on the wall. When you walk by, you can just feel it in the air when you're here. So, I was able to meet a legend today in Carl Banks. So being able to be a part of this is quite, amazing, and I'm very humbled by it.
What kind of interaction did you have with John Mara before the process and then the last 24 hours?
Yeah, they were great. Was able to have conversations with them going into this process, and I think anytime that you get to have those opportunities, you want to take full advantage of them, and being able to meet them and create that connection before I was even drafted here was special. So look forward to continuing with that, and just really grateful for them and them believing in me.
You look at the quarterback room, the Giants went out and signed 2 veterans this offseason. How do you see yourself fitting in right away?
Yeah, I think it's just a great opportunity for me to learn. They've played at the highest level, won Super Bowls. So, I remember as a little kid, I was watching Russ play, and actually I have a jersey of him when he was with the Seahawks. So, it's like I said, it's a surreal experience to be able to play here and play with those great guys at such an elite caliber. And I'm just, really prepared to, take it day by day and try to improve myself and learn from them as much as I can.
Even though you're behind those guys, initially, team trades up, gets a guy in the first round, they're going to think you'll be the franchise quarterback. What does that mean to you, like potentially being this franchise?
Yeah, it's special. Them being able to have that belief in me. I think as a competitor that, you have that belief in yourself. So when you're able to be a part of an organization that sees it the same way, it's special. And I think that, they have an amazing plan lined up for me in the development program, and then being able to learn from the vets that are ahead of me is going to be great.
One of the things that's unique about the draft is that people do sometimes pick at pieces of your game. And one of the criticisms of you is just you need time to develop, which isn't a bad thing. But how ready do you believe you are? And when you heard, he needs time to develop, what goes through your mind?
Quite honestly, I've just tried to stay away from, that as much as I can. I'm really just focused on getting better each and every day. And, I feel like anytime I step on a football field, I'm going to go out there and ball, regardless of who I'm playing against. So I have that confidence in myself. But at the same time, I understand that coming to a next level, there's definitely going to be a development piece. And that goes for anybody, regardless of where you're at in your career, if you're taking it to the next level. So, that's my plan, to attack each and every day and to prepare myself for, whenever my time's to come.
Jaxson, did he give you any advice on how to handle everything else around this job, not just playing the football, but being the quarterback for a New York team?
Yeah, so he was actually one of the first people to reach out to me yesterday when the news broke. And I just think that I've had such a, great connection with him and the Manning family that, being able to have them in my corner has been a huge asset. And I couldn't be more blessed to have them in my corner coming here and continuing that in the future.
How much do you plan on anything specifically? Or?
We're going to have conversations coming up. Yeah, these last few hours have been kind of crazy.
How much do you plan on using him as a sounding board?
I think I would be kind of a fool not to. Really any questions that I have, I think that he's a great person to rely on and kind of lean on. So he's been here, played at the highest level, won Super Bowls, and for me, I want to chase greatness just like he did. So I think that when you're able to pick in the brain of a future, first ballot Hall of Famer, you'd be a fool not to.
How much does that help that you have that Ole Miss connection, obviously?
Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. Like I said, I think it's going to be a great asset for me to carry over to the next step.
What do you remember about the Peach Bowl victory over Penn State and Abdul Carter's maybe strip sack on you, or maybe not a strip sack of you?
I remember he got after me early on in that game. I remember game planning for him, and just seeing his skill set was at such an elite level. And I actually told my family before this that I hope that I get the chance to play with him, and because I know how great of a player he is, and I've seen what his teammates have said about him and how he's able to set a culture for the team, and I see it the exact same way. So I'm excited to compete with him and be a teammate with him.
Jaxson,
You
work with Joe Judge at Ole Miss. Did you pick his brain about the organization and playing in this market?
Yeah, he gave me some, he's going to connect me with some really good people. And I think that, just like many others, he's a great asset for me. And, he's had a lot of experience. So, he shed a lot of wisdom down to me. And, I'm just grateful to have him, as an asset as well. So, he's been a great source in my development at Ole Miss. And he was able to be at, my draft party yesterday, which says a lot to me. And, he's been a huge supporter.
What stood out about Abdul's game when you were game prepping for him?
Geez, he doesn't really have a weakness. He can do it all. He's so versatile. I mean, I played him when he was playing in the box at the linebacker position. And how he was able to disrupt a game from that. I still remember a play that we had on a short yardage where he chased, from the end of the line of scrimmage all the way back to the other side of the field and almost made a tackle on a running back for a loss and actually stopped him before he got to the first down. I remember, live, you can't really see it, but then when you watch back on film, not many people on this earth can make a play like that.
Jaxson, there's obviously a lot more that goes into playing quarterback than just playing it, right? So where does your leadership come from? How would you describe your leadership? What kind of role models have you had in that?
Yeah, I'm huge on, making relationships with my teammates. I want to know everybody's story, and I want to get to know them as the people that they are. And I think that as a leader, to really get buy-in from your teammates, you have to have that. And I think that when you're able to also come to work every single day with the mindset of consistency and discipline, where your teammates and the guys around you know that you're going to show up and handle your business at an elite level, I think that can be a great example. But I think it definitely starts with, building that relationship and that connection. So, they can trust you and you can trust them and, make everybody around you better.
Who's some of the best leaders you've been around?
I think early on when I was at USC, Drake London was a great leader. When I was at Ole Miss, another receiver that I had, Trey Harris, was a great leader. Mingo was a great leader. I played with a lot of really, elite players, and I think that I've been able to take bits and pieces from all of them.
How surprised were you to be the second quarterback taken in this draft? Did that take you by surprise at all? Did you kind of expect that? How did you kind of expect it to unfold? And then the natural, way fans are going to look at it, some people say, well, could have taken Shador Sanders and that there's going to be a comparison there. How do you handle that moving forward?
Quite honestly, this is kind of just what I expected. I think as a competitor, you see yourself as the best anytime that you're going to step on the field. I think that if you don't see it that way, then, especially as a quarterback, the team's not going to believe in you at the highest level. So, I didn't want to make any expectations going into it because, you really never know what's going to happen in the draft. And, I couldn't be more grateful to be in the position that I am. I'm not really thinking of it that way. I'm more focused on, really being able to make relationships with my teammates now and try to take this thing to the next level.
Jaxson, you played in Los Angeles, you played in the SEC. How has that prepared you for being in New York, just playing in a big media market and obviously playing in a premier conference like that?
Yeah, I think, I would say the SEC is probably the most elite conference in college football. And I think that, for me, I was able to play at a high level and I was able to experience, a high media platform in college. And I think that that's going to be a good transition for me to come here. And, I feel like I'm just ready for this.